Hi, welcome to North of 48. It is November the 15th. We just had our first snowfall up in Edmonton, up in northern Canada. And this past weekend, we just had Remembrance Day in Canada. And cultural appropriation has been on my mind. Everybody from pretending to be indigenous, which we call in Indians, pretendians, and trying to use that to get grants and work from companies because they claim to be indigenous. And down in the States, of course, there was some uh, Caucasian people saying that they were actually black, and big hullabaloo about that. So, what happens when it's reversed? Remembrance Day is very special in Canada. There was a lot of people, Canadians, that were killed during the First and Second World War. And there was a lot of hope that their sacrifice would make this a better world. And now we're getting misappropriation on that. Like I've done toasts to the Queen. I haven't done a toast to the King yet. I haven't been to an event where we did that, but to the Queen I have. And uh, I don't know. You want to call me an old stock Canadian? You know what? I'm a Canadian, no matter what color I am. I am a first generation Canadian too, as well. And I deeply respect this country. I respect countries that respect the right of others as well. So let us do a few stories related to Remembrance Day this past November 11th in Canada.
As old as Cenotaph, Remembrance Day brings out history and those who have been a part of it. Commandos, paratroopers, veterans all. Stephen Pierce says during his 30 years in the military, he lost many friends.
In 2008, I went to Afghanistan for 8 months, and then again in 2011, and then I retired in 2012.
Afghanistan is not something that Pierce, who retired as a sergeant, finds easy to talk about, but he says it's even tougher to try to suppress.
It's actually better to talk about it. Ever since I started doing a cross-Canada ride for awareness of PTSD, it gets a little bit easier to talk about without losing it.
Stand at ease. Attention.
A remembrance service was also held at Patricia Park, located at the old Griesbaugh Barracks. The ceremony was hosted by the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. Many families in attendance say it's tradition.
That it's important to remember anybody that fought for our country and our freedoms and
our safety,
and to show that respect to those still serving.
I try to teach her, and I taught my kids to respect it and to come.
The Loyal Edmonton Regiment hosted its Remembrance Day ceremony at City Hall. It was followed by a procession to the City Hall cenotaph where wreaths were laid. Organizers say ceremonies like these make servicemen and women proud.
I think we can all agree that war is atrocious, that quite a few people are scarred with PTSD, with memories. And the people who were involved in the war, the citizens and stuff, are also scarred. I get that very much. However, we get stuff like from Sackville Heights Elementary in Middle Sackville, Nova Scotia. It's invited members of the armed forces to attend on last November 11th, and they say, "We recognize and celebrate the diverse makeup of our school community, and in being responsive to our students, we warmly invite any service members who would like to attend. To maintain a welcoming environment for all, we kindly request that service members wear civilian clothing." 100 years from now might be a great thing currently in this environment, I don't think it's a thing. I think a soldier should wear their uniform. Because Canadians, like in Afghanistan and in Kandahar, were peacekeepers. Well, tried to be peacekeepers. This decision did not sit well with many people, and a lot of people said that for the members of the Canadian Armed Forces not to wear their uniforms while observing Remembrance Day, the leaders at this school are disgracing themselves while demeaning the people who protect our country. Again, we're not a war country. We are a peace country, but we have peacekeepers. Other people have said if the people behind this decision had a shred of courage that our veterans have, this cowardly and insulting idea would have been rejected immediately. Saying least we forget is a solemn praise to the fallen, our veterans, and those who continue to serve, that we will pass in respect and gratitude to the next generation. The, they also said the decision makers at Sackville Heights Elementary School have forgotten the sacred obligation. That was in a post from an MP. Retired Major Ken Hines says this newsletter, this message struck a nerve in him. Kind of angry, really, he says, that someone would think it's appropriate to deny veterans, sailors, soldiers, and aviators from wearing the uniform that they have earned. Part of the education system's responsibility is to teach children the history of our country and the importance of service and sacrifice given freely by our citizens in time of conflict. Many were upset about the idea, and a different perspective is that the school did it because sometimes uniforms can be a trigger for little ones. To them, a uniform is a uniform, and it can promote fear. So I would take it these are children from other countries, because we didn't have war inside Canada, who would be triggered by a uniform. When asked about the school's request for new uniforms at the Remembrance Day ceremony, a Robert Hush, associate professor of international development studies, said there's a bit of irony, where the very discussion in nature is not just war, but the message about never repeating war again. Hush says it's important for schools to educate students. To really get into that historical memory, he says, about why this day exists, and I don't mean just mean a simple history that explains dates and times of conflicts, but the real meaning about how war changes a society. Well, in an email to families prior to Remembrance Day on the Thursday night, the principal of Sackville Heights Elementary apologized for the decision and said the school reconsidered its approach. The request caused harm, and I am deeply sorry for that, said Rachel Webster. She went on to explain the initial decision was made out of concern for the students at the school who come from conflict zones, noting some have expressed discomfort with images of war, which includes those of individuals in military uniforms. The school was trying to ensure everyone taking part in the ceremony could feel comfortable. I want to assure you that we have the utmost respect for what the uniform represents. As such, we have reconsidered our approach for the ceremony. They welcome military family members to come dressed in the attire that makes them most comfortable, including uniforms. Families who are concerned about their children seeing members in uniform should reach out to her directly. Well, here's another thing. Families that are uncomfortable with that, could they not stay home versus the rest of society who are there to honor the fallen? I don't know where this comes together. Like sooner or later, hopefully, God willing, we won't have war. But I think we should always remember the people who are involved in war. And it's a special dedication per family, without a doubt. That's a tricky subject. However, I feel that they made the right decision in letting soldiers come to Remembrance Day in their uniform. So let's talk about a song that discomforted a lot of Canadians at the ceremony, the Remembrance Day. An Ontario school played a Palestinian protest song in Arabic as its Remembrance Day music. They they chose an Arabic song about peace for Gaza as the only song to play for Remembrance Day service, said a disappointed parent. An Ottawa school played an Arabic language Palestinian protest song associated with fighting in Gaza as the soundtrack to its Remembrance Day presentation. Here's a little bit of video about that.
An annual Remembrance Day assembly on Monday for students at Sir Robert Borden High School seems to have strayed from routine after the school's principal chose to play an Arabic language song during a video presentation. Speaking to students off camera, the opinions are mixed. Some say the ceremony, which began with the national anthem and ended with the last post, should have stuck to a more traditional playlist, while others say it was an inclusive choice. But its use has caused controversy. The song Haza Salam, often translated to This is Peace, has become associated with opposition to the conflict between Israel and Hamas.
It's not a time and place to try that kind of politically correct.
If there's something that's currently happening as well, it's always going to be relevant when we're talking about war.
On Monday, in a letter to parents, the school's principal, Aaron Hobbs, apologized to those who may have been hurt or offended by the song choice. Hobbs added, "We recognize that the song choice, while intended to highlight themes of peace, also inadvertently caused offense and discomfort to some students." On social media, MP Lisa MacLeod called the event a politically charged move, including a Palestinian war song. Denouncing that post, the National Council of Canadian Muslims, saying it is preposterous to suggest speaking Arabic is tantamount to hate. The Jewish Federation of Ottawa says it has contacted the school and the Ottawa Carleton District School Board, adding it was deeply concerned to learn that a song related to the Gaza conflict was included in a Remembrance Day ceremony. Some say the assembly has distracted from its purpose.
It's time to remember the soldiers that died overseas.
War is war is a bad thing. Let's face it, and it's a shame what's happening between Gaza and Israel and the Palestinians. However, it's also a shame not to give us as Canadians a fair shot at remembering our past war dead. I come to this from a place where my mom was in Denmark in 1939. She remembers when the German soldiers came into town, said there was no sugar. It would be in the 40s, I guess. And when they left, all of a sudden there was sugar, and the Canadian soldiers were in Denmark. My dad escaped Poland back in 1939 as well. There's some things we hold dear to our heart, and the sacrifice these soldiers made, whether you agree with it or not, because times have changed. We hold those dear and remember them because we don't want to forget that. And cultural appropriation, well, it's a thing nowadays. And we sure hope it'll be resolved out in the Palestinian area, without a doubt. But on this day, on Remembrance Day, let us not forget our Canadian soldiers, our brethren that sacrificed their lives, their homes, their family, that they could never get back to keep Canada safe. Bonsoir.